IMG Academy and kind of an insight into their team in the JV race. A lot of running up front, a lot of young talent on that team, which when I see a good JV team, you got to immediately know there's 7 guys better than that, right? That's why those guys are in the JV race. But Christ School, very good as well. Jesuit, extremely good. Jesuit coming down from Louisiana, also excellent. You see your defending champion on your screen, Marcelo Manicon. He's certainly the athlete to watch, although he's going to be joined by a host of great talent. We mentioned IMG. That's Matthew Dodds, their lead runner. Kavi Gibson as well. That's going to be a really good battle. I would expect this to be a much closer race than what we just saw from the girls' race. Avery Lowen, certainly the class of that field, broke it up early. Both because I think there's a little bit more parity in the boys' race in terms of how close they are, but also just kind of the nature of boys versus girls racing. Girls, you tend to see an athlete kind of break the will of people early, try to get out in front. Boys, you see a little bit maybe more conservative racing. Everybody thinks they've got that final kick. Maybe they're not as willing to push in the middle of the race as the girls are, so expect a lot more guys up front. But same thing will apply. You got to manage your effort on this fast start. You got to be near the front, but maybe not at the front, and then you have to be near the front after you go back up this hill in the middle of the race if you want to be in contention to win at the end.
Well, it's another junior who we are talking about here, Marcelo Mantacon, who you mentioned. He won this race a year ago. He's undefeated thus far this season. Ran 14:35 at the Southern Showcase for a personal best there just a couple of weeks back. So he certainly will be one to keep an eye on. But number 3 in the nation is Mantacon. Number 16 is the aforementioned Kavi Gibson as well, the local boy. So he has been having a solid season as well. You know, a number of these apps so fun when we get these big races. You say, okay, Mantacon is undefeated. Well, so is this guy and that guy. Somebody's leaving here not undefeated. I mean, these are really, really good competitors lining up.
Yeah, and I like that. I like seeing the top competitors all come to race each other. You can kind of hide from the competition, but I think iron sharpens iron, and racing these top competitors, that's what really makes you get ready for racing at the next level, and this is a really good way to go about it right here.
The team battle should be close here as well. You see IMG there. They'll have their sights set on a very high finish here. And a preview, as you said, kind of the Southeast region and potentially some of the national implications as well. It's 1 week at a time, but the cards are starting to be laid on the table, and it's a little less coy, I would say, in the high school ranks than we see sometimes from the collegiate level, where maybe coach says, hey, let's hold back, or let's not run our best guy at full capacity just yet, and kind of play the game with the regional system and the rankings and, you know, really unleashing your full potential later on. I think these high school guys are here to run, and at this point in the season, there's really not any holding back.
Yeah, and the last athlete we saw on the line there was Kavi Gibson, the senior from Cary Academy. We saw him on that graphic, didn't say much about him, but he is local, right down the street. That's a huge advantage, I think, especially for high school athletes. Sleep in your own bed before the race, big advantage rather than getting a hotel room. He was 11th at Foot Locker South, missed out nationals by 1 spot, so you know he's got that fire under him. Undefeated so far this year, won 1450 at Hare and Hounds Cross Country Invite. He's been top 5 at North Carolina state championships over and over again, but has yet to really break through. Maybe this is his moment, but he's going to have some really good competition to contend with.
Well, the boys have seen how that girls' race played out and maybe have a couple more towards the front of this one. Mantacon and others know this course very well. You mentioned Gibson, obviously local here, Cary Academy, representing the Chargers there. But Mantacon, the returning champion, won as a sophomore a year ago. So the junior would love to go back-to-back and maybe even come back next year. But the race is on here for these boys. This Race of Champions are watching live on Runner Space with Trevor Fulkerson and Hayden Cox. We've been having a blast all weekend long, and this has led to this boys championship race, and we will see that lead pack. I agree, Hayden. I think we're going to see a little bit more parity here, maybe a little more caginess. It is still just that 5K distance, so it goes pretty quick. You see our athletic course tracker there to let us know where we're at. You've gotten to know this course a little bit and see how things start to shake out.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of yellow jerseys up front from Bell and Jesuit. They're always easy to spot. I think they've got 3 in the top 10. They've got 2 in the top 5. and they're already starting to reel back this early leader. We talked about it in the beginning stages of the other races. It's very easy to run fast in the top 600. Anybody who finishes in the top 100 of this race, they could be at the front for the first 600 to mile if they really wanted to with that steep downhill. But this is a 5,000 meter race, so you need to manage that effort, being up front. Every race that we've seen, with the exception of Avery Lowen, being up front ended up coming back to bite people. Usually the athlete that ended up winning was sitting back somewhere between 5th and 10th at this stage of the race. But this is the most amount of athletes we've seen all together at the front of any race so far this weekend. So I think we're going to be in for a barn burner.
We talk about those coiled nerves, the ball of energy at the line, but I think with that downhill, it almost kind of extends those nerves, and you still get settled into the running here. But even a couple of minutes in, when you have so many people left and right, Manticone easy to spot there, as you said, in the yellow, will slowly make his way up. But we see a number of athletes still in contention, hugging the line, and I just think that even if this starts to slowly open up, there's going to be a couple of athletes that could still be in contention after the first maybe 2K or so.
Yeah, I really like where Bellin Jesuit is right here. They're letting Oconee do the work up front. I think that might be Aaron Broderick. 5 races this year, including some local wins like Bob Blasto, runner-up at cross country last year. He's a very talented athlete. Could certainly mix it up front. But Bellin Jesuit kind of letting Broderick do the work and just saying, hey, all right, well, actually, now we're taking over a little bit. But they're just kind of keeping it smooth. They're not really hammering on it. They're not making any quick surges. They're managing this windy part of the course. If they know anything about this course, which they probably do, they've got very good coaching. They know right now you can not win the race. You can lose the race right now, but you can't win it till that hill. You got to stay in contention at the top of the hill. I've said it over and over again. I'll keep saying it because it's so crucial managing this course. And then you have to be up there for that last hill to be able to make a charge.
Broderick, as you said, another one who comes in undefeated here, but only one will leave with a 1 next to their name, continuing through the rest of the season, or to this point, I should say, having stayed undefeated. Manticone would love to extend his undefeated season and pick up another victory here. Aaron Broderick, though, it's good to see sometimes when you have somebody that's, kind of that favorite. Sometimes that's what it takes, is that early going of pushing the lead, saying, hey, I'm not intimidated. I'm not going to react to what you're doing. I'm not going to let you get too far ahead. I'm going to run my own race and see how things play out.
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing in this race, different from the girls' race, is none of these guys are intimidated by each other. I think in the girls' race, they saw Avery Lowen go up front and were like, oh, she's run all these super fast times. She ran the course record at Winged Foot. Maybe we'll sit back and let her go. But these boys are looking at each other going, I could beat all of you. I'm not scared of you. And I think every one of them's thinking that in the early stages of this race. But this is the beginning of the hill right now. This is the moment that you have to be in the lead group. So we'll see who gets over this hill in that lead group. You don't necessarily have to be in first, but you have to either be in the lead group or just close enough to be able to catch it on the downhill on the back. And we're already seeing some separation with 5 athletes.
Manticone, just a junior. Won this as a sophomore a year ago. Broderick out in front in the white over blue. The tall strides you can see there. He's also undefeated this year. So plenty of confidence abounding in a number of these athletes. So we'll come up on our 2K here shortly and get that split. But now there are 4 out in front, starting to separate themselves from the rest of the field. The 2 bright yellow jerseys, as you mentioned, will have team implications here surely.
Yeah, and Bellin Jesuit, 2 in the top 4, is going to have some very big team implications. See how aggressive they decide to run. I would think, Caitlin Tuohy's talked about this with NC State and their very good teams while she was at the top of the NCAA rankings on the men's side. I think of Tyler Day. I know I've mentioned his name a few times and how he talked about this with NAU when they had their top teams, but how to run as an individual when you're on one of the best teams. So Bellin Jesuit, expect these 2 guys to work together. I think that's Manticone and Cruz working together. Be a little bit more conservative, perhaps, than Broderick. If Broderick goes out too fast and he blows up, it's only his race to lose. But if the Bellin Jesuit guys make that mistake, they can also have team implications of blowing up the team score. And they're here to win individually, sure, but they're also here to win as a team. So expect that balance of maybe seeing them control it a little bit more, manage the pace, not some big punches like you kind of saw from Broderick earlier in the race. But I guarantee you, The winner is going to come from one of these 4 athletes right here.
Well, how's this for a segue? Brody Hasty of Brentwood during his time in Tennessee had the course record for a long time, set that in 2016. It was broken a year ago from Keegan Smith of Knoxville Catholic, running 14:23 here at the Southeast Regional. So credit where it's due. We'll keep an eye on some of those potential fast times here as well. But if past his prologue, we could see some very, very quick times as those team scores start to be tallied up through the first splits as well.
And you know, the name we haven't said is Ryan Sykes, who's kind of been biding his time. He's in that orange jersey for Horace Greeley. He's been letting everybody else do the work. He's been right there. He hasn't lost a step. He's looking very, very good. He was second at Queensbury Pre-States, third at the Bowden XC Classic, run in the low 15. So, you know, he doesn't quite have the resume that some of these guys up front have, but perhaps he's just waiting for his moment, and right now he's running up front and seems very comfortable with 2 of the best runners in the country, in Manicon and Cruz and Broderick as well.
Everybody has to have a breakout race, and no better time, even if he ends up even just in this top 4 with such a high-quality field. You know, we look at who the favorites are on paper, but I like to say they don't run the race on paper. You take it up out on the course, and Ryan Sykes may be looking for a breakout performance here.
Yeah, I really like the way Manicon's running this race, though. He's controlling it. Everybody's keying off him. Manicon, the Bell and Jesuit athlete with the sunglasses, his teammate Armando Cruz, probably used to sharing hundreds of miles on Manicon's shoulder. But everybody's keying off the defending champion, Marcelo Manicon, in the yellow Bell and Jesuit Prep. Both the Bell and Jesuit Prep athletes leading, but I do really like Armando Cruz and the way he's been running this. Broderick was a little aggressive early. Broderick, the white kit, of course, now in 4th place, was a little aggressive. I think he might pay for that on the hill when we get back to it the 3rd time, but this is one of the hardest parts of the course. You're now going back uphill, so you just came through that downhill. Your legs might feel a little bit tight. Now you have to deal with these windy turns. As you see, there's not as many fans and participants or former participants out here. It's a quiet part of the course. You really got to go into your own head and find out what drives you. And you have to be in position for that final hill. And this is that moment where you're far enough away from the finish that you can't really smell it, but you've been running enough that those legs are tired, the heart rate's high, the lungs are working. So what can you do right now to get in position for that final hill?
And full credit to Ryan Sykes. He is not one that you would have picked early on based on his CV to be in that lead pack, but he is hanging on gamely here and looking very comfortable. Manicon now starting to show his quality just under 10 minutes in as he rounds another bend. But Ryan Sykes, again, hasn't done a ton on his resume. You know, we'll look at some of the highlights, but I mean, look at these athletes who have been winning state titles and taken top 10 finishes at big cross-country races, and that just hasn't been the case so far for Ryan Sykes of Horace Greeley, coming down from New York here, but he is making the most of the trip as of now.
Yeah, but we just saw a pretty big move from Manicon. This is the first time we've seen a big move on this section of the course. Lowen kind of broke it up immediately. All the other races have kind of waited for that last hill to blow everything up. But Manicon, I don't know if he just felt better than everybody, or maybe he felt everybody else kind of hesitate for a minute. He didn't really look like he stepped on the gas. Maybe it was a light surge, but he is really blowing this up. His teammate Armando Cruz is actually getting the brunt of it all the way back and forth. I don't know what's going on there, but Ryan Sykes, you know, we really didn't have his name on the top of our list going into this race, but he is firmly in 2nd place, and I think he's the only one who's got a shot at Manicon. But, you know, Manicon, defending champion, he knows this course. He's one of the best runners in the United States. He's going to be very hard to beat as we come into the final stages of this race.
Marcelo Manicon, number 3 in the nation. He's showing why here. The champion from a year ago, one of the fastest times on this course. 14:35 at the Southern Showcase. Florida State cross-country record and his personal best. It's the national soft holder in the indoor 5K. So you want to talk about accolades. He has them in spades, and still just in the meat of his high school career, if you will, as a junior here, trying to become a defending champion. Ryan Sykes there, stalking him just a few meters back.
Yeah, I didn't love that look on the shoulder, and I think every coach would say the same thing. But Manicone, I think, has the experience. The look over the shoulder does two things, right? It tells Manicone how far he's got, but it also tells Ryan Sykes, who's sitting there in second, like, oh, maybe Manicone's doubting himself. Because from Ryan Sykes' position, if Manicone doesn't look over his shoulder, it just looks like Manicone is out for a jog. I mean, his mechanics are so smooth, shoulders are relaxed, cadence is super high, but when he looks over his shoulder, that tells Ryan Sykes, if I'm Ryan Sykes in second place, that tells me, oh, he's starting to doubt himself a little bit. Maybe if I put in a little bit of a surge, I can get there. But I think Manicone looked over his shoulder, was kind of surprised to see Sykes still kind of in sight there, and put down another little surge as he's whipping through the turns right now and opening up the gap.
Last year, Manicone won in 14:40, the 8th fastest time here on this course. Kavi Gibson was right there as well with the top 10 time also, so we haven't seen him be any sort of factor in this race. It is just Manicone's day, it seems like. But coming up, and talk about making the most of the trip for a couple of these athletes all the way up and down the East Coast. And Sykes there, impressive running, very, very gamely there in second. But he has a lot of work to do if he has his sights on taking down the defending champion. Manticone getting some instruction and a little bit of a shrug of the shoulders there, saying, hey, I can't quite shake him.
You know what I think that was? I think Coach said, hey, you got to keep moving. He's back there. Manicone looks over his shoulder and be like, dude, what are you talking about? I got him. But Coach knows what he's talking about because Sykes is driving up this hill. Manicone is too, but look at the shoulders for Manicone. He's starting to get a little bit wobbly. The core is starting to get a little loose. You see the hips wobble. Sykes is really hammering. It's a lot of gap to make up and not a lot of time. Manicone knows this course. He knows how to win here. So, you know, he is certainly the favorite, but Sykes is running a great race. Ryan Sykes for Horace Greeley really coming out of his shell here. You know, was kind of 15 low, not one of our top guys. Broderick's really hammering up from Oconee County as well. That might be a good battle for second. If Manicone's not careful, this is going to come back together, but there's Sykes looking over his shoulder. Don't like to see that. Now he's starting to think about protecting second rather than chasing first. But three guys in sight here as we're about 100 meters from the finish.
14 minutes have clicked off. You see, like you said, a little bit of wobbliness in the shoulders of our leader here. But Ryan Sykes, what I've loved seeing is he's looked the same at the beginning as he does now. Yes, he's working hard, and he certainly will have a challenge on his hand, as he's said, from Broderick behind him, especially with those tall strides that Broderick has. But as they continue to climb this hill, it is our defending champion who is in control as of now, Marcelo Manticone of Belen Jesuit Prep. Ryan Sykes there in the orange giving chase for Horace Greeley. He's going to have a great run no matter what the case is. He looks like he will be safely in second here with his sprint finish, but even faster than last year. Manticone says, give me that victory. Once again, he will stand atop the podium. Ryan Sykes, talk about coming out of your shell. That is his breakout moment, and a good third place finish there for Broderick as well.
Yeah, first time under 15 for Ryan Sykes. Former PR was 15:05 up at the New York State Championships, and he is well under that today. A very good run there. Manicone, of course, all eyes on him. The defending champion defends his title. A very tough thing to do, to be consistent. You love seeing it, but Sykes with a really good run. So Manicone takes it 14:39. Sykes in second, 14:44, blowing 15 minutes out of the water. Hats off to Aaron Broderick, the early aggressor, still finishing in third, 14:50. And now we'll look at the team score. Belen Jesuit has first and fourth, but no other. We expected to see some other teams kind of packed up front. We didn't really see it. We had two guys from Christ School in 10th and 12th. I got to shout out Miles Germain of Orange School in 14th. Used to work for his dad over at Elon University. He was the head coach there. Now he's the head coach over at Duke University, head coach of cross country. Miles Germain's got a lot of talent in 4th. But looking at 14th, rather, looking at farther back, I've got some guys from Jesuit in 20th and 22nd. Another one in 26. Trinity's up there. Broughton's up there. Let's see as it all comes in.
Manticone slightly betters his time from a year ago. He'll add another entry into that top 10 list and remain 8th overall all time as far as the finishing time goes. But Ryan Sykes, let's put that in perspective. That's a top 20 time on this course as well. Broderick right there at 14:50 as Manticone leads 5 guys under 15 minutes on a quick day here at Wake Med. And that team battle, like you said, going to be very close.
Yeah, I think Belen Jesuit just faded a little bit over the backside of that course. I think getting up that hill the first time, they looked so good for the first mile or so, but that hill really separates the wheat from the chaff, as you said earlier today, and that hill was a huge challenge for them. I think Christ School got the benefit. There's always a benefit to knowing this course, having raced here before, and we definitely saw that from Marcelo Manicon, who defended his title. But what's that going to do to impact kind of the 3, 4, 5 battles to separate who ends up winning? But look at how close the numbers are right now. We're still filing in, so this is perspective. Don't count on it yet, but Jesuit, Christ School up there, 1 point separating themselves, and it was really, really close.
The grouping is so important, as you've said time and again. And even if we don't end up talking about individuals from a team, they can come together and put together a very nice score. So look at Jesuit and Christ School. I think, we're just comparing and contrasting. We've learned our lesson, I would say, at various times, haven't we, Hayden, about calling it too early. So we'll take a breath here and let things shake out.
Well, I'll give you some stats while you take a breath there. Brooks Barbie, number 1 Christ School athlete, 10th. Their number 2, Reynolds Young, 12th. Jack Dennehy, 30th for them. Their next athlete, Dallas Reeves, 80th, and then Brody Webb in 96th. Meanwhile, on the Jesuit side of things, they were a little bit farther up. Let me make sure I'm getting it right. Yeah, Brady Monahan in 20th, Joe Accardo in 22nd, David Quintana in 26th. So that 1, 2, 3 punch is going to be really effective. But 4 and 5 are a little bit farther back. Connor Fanberg, 75th, and Patrick Fitzmaurice in 93rd. So it's really a question of that 3, 4, 5. How much is that battle going to happen? Because Jesuit got the advantage on 1 and 2, but I don't think they have it all the way back. So you kind of see the numbers starting to separate. Christ School getting a little bit of an advantage as we're still populating people in. But if you're wondering why we can't get it yet, some of these teams still haven't gotten their 4th and 5th runners in, so their numbers aren't yet tabulated in the computer. So that's why these numbers keep changing, because 4 and 5 aren't in yet.
Well, we had some headliners early. We knew that Manticone was going to be tough to beat. He had some good competition, and he took his time getting out into the lead from that very, very beginning. And Sykes with an incredible run, as well as our early leader, Aaron Broderick, who came in, ended up in 3rd overall in the white jersey. He was out there early on. Manticone took his time, never seemed to be pressed. He knows this course. He did it a year ago, and he does it again this year.
Yeah, that was just experience through and through up front. He looked so good, controlled the race. Everybody was queuing off him, and that's a huge challenge when you're the favorite. Look at that shot right there. He's in the sunglasses. He's got Broderick, Sykes, and Cruz all queuing off Manicon, but Manicon, he felt something. It looked like one of those moments where he just maybe sensed a little bit of hesitation from everybody else back in the woods, took the opportunity to get a little bit of a gap before the hill, and Ryan Sykes was the only one that could even stay in the shot as Manicon charged up the hill and defended his title, and a fastest time on this course for him, representing Belen Jesuit Prep and taking the victory.
Well, just as the girls' race did, the boys' race lived up to the hype on both the team battle and on the individual side. You see the sportsmanship there. Those two will be seeing each other again. Certainly, they know that they make each other better. And speaking of sportsmanship, coming all the way through, getting all the way to that line, one competitor helping another. We'd love to see it here. So many aspects of cross country, but it is all about leaving it all out there on the course. And sometimes that is all you have to give.
Yeah, I'd love to see some sportsmanship there. Looking at the team scores, I do think it's Christchurch that has it. We're not 100% done on the rank on the team scores, but Christchurch, that 1, 2, 3 punch, just a little bit too much for Jesuit. Christ School, rather. So Christchurch cross-country team down the road from me, so apologies for the confusion. But Christ School first, Jesuit second. Trinity has really had a good day on both genders and in JVs as well, as they're finishing third here.